Hello and welcome to Matt's Mosh Pit, and today I'm going to do something that I've never done on this channel before. I am going to do the very first album review for the channel, and it's going to be a wild ride, so you're not going to want to miss it. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown me and my channel so far. It truly means a lot, and I could not do this without you. So folks, I should say this is going to be one of those where I have to show you how the sausage is made, for lack of better terms. Only because it's my very first album review, and if you've been a fan of this channel, you're sitting there going, why is he doing album reviews? You know, he normally just does video reactions and some vlogs and whatnot. And hey, if you watched my What's Up in 2025, I never even mentioned album reviews. So I felt that it's necessary to kind of give you a little bit of an insight on, once again, how the sausage is made in a weird sort of way. And so if you've been checking out various people on YouTube that do album reviews or any other kind of form of medium, a lot of times they are much bigger than this channel, and the labels will typically send them the music ahead of time so they can kind of marinate with it and then create a formative review and all that kind of good stuff. So you guys see the end product of that. And when you're a young upstart like myself, you don't necessarily have those connections, or that doesn't really happen. I will say a few times in my channel's history, I have gotten some labels that have sent me like one song that I should review or they want me to do a reaction to, which is very, very fitting for the channel. And I have actually done those. I will stress ahead of time, none of this is paid for or sponsored or anything like that. So, and there's nothing up front that says, you know, we really want you to like it, or please like this, or, you know, so there's no real, I don't feel like I owe anybody anything to like give a great reaction or a great review to. I have been fortunate that I think some of the things, I'd say most of the things I've checked out, I have actually liked. There have been a few things that have been sent to me that weren't necessarily for me, and I actually just didn't post them because I'll be honest with you, as you guys know, I'm not an expert in any way. I'm not a musician. I don't, you know, it really is, does it sound good to me? Does it not sound good to me? And so quite frankly, I just didn't feel comfortable putting up something if I was just going to be like, oh, that's terrible. And so, so I've kind of shied away from that, for obvious reasons. And so, and I've just kept doing what I do. And so recently, I actually, a publicist sent me a full album and said, can you please check it out and do a review? And so I thought about it. I'm like, that's really weird. I've never actually gotten anybody asking for my opinion on like a full album. And so I thought about it. I'm like, okay, cool. It's not what I normally do, but hey, I'm game. Let's check it out. And so I should preface this, that the actual comedy of the whole thing was probably 2 hours before I got the email. I was having a conversation with a loyal viewer of this channel, I'd say friend of the channel at this point, and we were talking about metal subgenres that you really, really want to love, but you just for some reason can't quite grasp what it is. You just don't get it for whatever reason. And it's not a matter of you don't want to love it. It's you do want to love it, but for some reason it just doesn't click the way it clicks for other people. And so I was, I actually didn't say what subgenres that happens to me with, but in our interaction, but in the back of my head, and I'm going to spill the beans now, the back of my head, I was thinking of black metal, because black metal is a genre that I totally want to love, and I would even say like some of the the original traditional death metal is almost in there as well. You know, I do respect bands like Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that, but it's not something that I necessarily gravitate towards. And don't get me wrong, when I see these end of the year reviews and these death metal albums are always get really, really high reviews, I actually do go and listen to them and check them out because I truly, really want to get into them. Likewise with black metal, it's one of those where I don't really I think the closest thing to black metal that I actually do kind of like is Behemoth. And I actually really do like Behemoth, but I think there's probably a lot of traditionalists out there that will say, oh, that's not black metal. Or, there's people that always cite like Mayhem and I think Borzerg or Burzum, I think it is. There's a lot of different black metal bands, but anyway, so just because they show up in the ether, I've just been curious. Okay, well, let me check it out. And every time I just can't quite grasp it. And I think it's they call it tremolo picking. I think that's what they call it. As you know, I'm not a musician. So it's the tremolo picking that I just don't quite get. And so it's almost too much. And in a lot of cases, the vocals are really washed out and very, very screechy. And I think that's something that I think people, hey, if you like black metal, that's something that you look forward to. For me, it's something that kind of is like, but in fairness, I have not given black metal that much attention. And it is something that I'm very, very open to learning more about. And maybe there are bands out there that I should check out that would kind of, open the gates to that world, I guess. And so black metal has been that genre for me. Same with, like I said, original, I'd say traditional death metal. I am definitely more of a melodic death metal, folk metal, power metal. Like that's really my wheelhouse. But I'm very, very much open to the other genres as well. It's just, A, there's still time. I got to get exposed to them. And B, there's just some that they just don't quite work for me yet, is how I should say. Okay, so anyway, I've been talking way too much at this point about that particular conversation. So I get this email literally a couple hours from that conversation of subgenres, and I immediately go, cool, this person wants me to check out a full album. I actually got a full album sent to me. I felt like I was, maybe I am starting to become one of those, big channels that gets the labels to send them the albums ahead of time and all of that good stuff. So I was feeling really, really good about myself. I opened the email and I looked at the band, and I never heard of the band before in my life, which is fine. There's so many bands I don't know of, but they were considered post-black metal. And I was like, really? That's my luck, And it's like the first time I get an album sent to me, it's of a subgenre that I want to get into, but I just can't seem to do it. And so I was like, why me? Why couldn't it have been, mellow death or folk metal? Why couldn't it have been something in my wheelhouse, like in my genre? Like that would have been awesome. I would have just been like, yeah, let's do this. So anyway, I figured, you know what? I said I would check it out. So why not check it out? And same time, I had a project going on at my day job, and it was very, very just mundane, just really, really, I'm not good at those, just doing the same repetitive thing over and over and over and over again type of people. So it was one of those kind of projects I was working on, and I'm not in computers, but I imagine what coding would be like, where you're literally just coding the same thing over and over. Very mind numbing, for lack of better terms. So I said, you know what? Now's the time. I always play music when I'm doing stuff like that. So let me check out this new album. And so now's the time when I can tell you the band is called Harakiri for the Sky, and the album is called Scorched Earth. And so I said, you know what? Let me just check it out. Let's do this. And so put the album on while I was doing my project, and it was completely different than I expected. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some of that tremolo picking in it. The vocals are a little bit, not washed out, but a little bit lower than my taste, let's just say. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually really, really enjoyed it. It was much more atmospheric than I would have thought, because of the limited experience I've had with black metal. It has not been that, but and don't get me wrong, if you're a black metal fan out there and hey, maybe 90% of it is atmospheric and I just don't know it, that's what it is. But for me, I feel like it almost covered a few different genres. So it wasn't just straight up tremolo picking and screechy vocals and just the same thing. It actually, I feel like it almost took you on like a journey. You could definitely feel that there was like despair. There was all kinds of, the lead singer's vocals were awesome. He had like a great voice for me, I should say. And I think his voice would actually work really, really well for punk music. There's no punk music on this album, but I figured if he wanted to try punk music, he would actually have a really good voice for punk as well. But the vocals I thought were great. He definitely had this like longing and this despair and all this kind of cool, it's everything that I actually really kind of like in the world. There was a lot of atmosphere. There was, there were like pianos. It really just kind of set the tone. And I'm not going to lie, it got me through my project. I was just like, this is actually pretty cool, and I played it a couple times back to back, and I enjoyed it more and more the more I listened to it. And I will say, the one thing I will say is, for me, the songs were on the longer side than I would typically like. Like when I listen to songs, I actually typically like them to be somewhat shorter. I am not necessarily the prog guy. I do respect prog, and there are certain times when, I'm okay with the song being really long. Iron Maiden, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, for example. But for the most part, on average, I would like shorter songs. These songs were, like 7-8 minutes long, and I thoroughly enjoyed them the whole time. And so there's something to be said about that. And so if anything, I should say I was pleasantly surprised, because going into it, I was very, very concerned because it's not my wheelhouse genre. And I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I, quite frankly, listened to it. I've listened to it quite a few times since I received it. I will say that it comes out this Friday. And so all I can say is I'm not an official critic. Let's just say, like I said, I don't know, I couldn't tell you if this tremolo picking is better than that tremolo picking, or, I couldn't really tell you if the production value is that great. If it's blatantly bad, I think anybody can see that, but I couldn't pick apart these little subtle nuances, for lack of better terms. And there are definitely other like music critics out there that if you're looking for that complete breakdown, they're out there. But for me, it's really just a matter of, hey, did I listen to it? Do I like it, or do I not like it? Does it sound good to my ears? And quite frankly, the answer is yes. I actually really, really enjoyed this. And maybe this is my entry into black metal. Like maybe they're like I always say like Arch Enemy is like a great entry point into like melodeath. Then you've got bands like Ad Infinitum or Amaranth, which are great, intros into just metal in general. And so I think this might be that kind of band for me. It might be the intro into post black metal, for lack of better terms. But all I can say is I thoroughly enjoyed it. And once again, I want to clarify that I wanted to give you the background on this so there is, yes, they sent me the album, and I am greatly appreciative of it. I think that's super cool, and I wish, hey, maybe more labels will do that. I think it's really, really cool from that perspective, but in no way am I sponsored by this. I don't have... Trust me, I'm not getting any money off of this, and there's no agreement or anything in place that says I have to really like it or I don't. So I do think that going forward, if I do more, album reviews, then there will be a scale of, do I like it? Do I not like it? Or I think it's a thumbs up, thumbs medium, or thumbs down. I don't really want to get into a point structure. Maybe you guys can help me out with this. What would you prefer? I don't want to get into a point structure where you say, oh, this is an 8.5 out of 10 or a 3.2. I don't want to get into that, because in a weird sort of way, it's apples and oranges. It's not really apples and apples. So it's hard to do that. So I'm just going to keep it at this point as basic as possible. It's literally a matter of, does it sound good to me? Would I recommend it to you guys? And in this particular case with Harakiri for the Sky, Scorched Earth is the name of the album. Absolutely. I would definitely check it out when it comes out. And I would check them out live. I'm actually curious to see what they're like live. I have not checked out any videos or anything like that. I've literally just only heard the album. But I do want to check them out live. And if you're in America and you're watching this, I do know that they're touring, I believe, starting in February with Swallow the Sun. And I unfortunately, they're playing at the same time I have another event, so I can't go, but it's a band I would definitely want to see. So for what it's worth, I think you should definitely check it out. It surprised me because it was, once again, a genre that I wasn't necessarily looking forward to. But I really do think you should check it out. If you like the bands like Septicflesh and Enslaved and stuff like that, I think you would probably enjoy this. So, but even if you've never heard of those bands and you're not really sure if you like black metal or anything, or post black metal is what they call it, check it out, because maybe you'll be like me. Maybe you'll appreciate it. Maybe you'll like it. And maybe that'll be a gateway into another genre that you weren't prepared for. I keep saying this. I'm really just a fan of music. And it amazes me that anybody watches my videos. And I'm just completely thankful for that. And then when you get something cool, like an actual label that says, hey, could you check this out? It's another, just one of those neat little cool things that it just, I don't know, makes me smile at the end of the night when I put my head on my pillow. So, anyway, go ahead and check it out. Give it a listen, and hopefully you'll like it just like I did. And so with that being said, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already hit subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. But more than ever, please leave comments. Let me know. Should I do more album reviews, or do you want me just to, just stick with what you do? But I and actually, if you have seen Harakiri, I'm going to say Harakiri because in America we typically say Harakiri, but I think it's specifically called Harakiri for the Sky. If you've seen them, Please, let me know what they're like live. If you're a big fan of theirs, hey, let me know what other albums I should check out by them. I believe this is like their fifth album or some fourth or fifth, something like that. So they do have other albums out there. So if there's others you think I should check out, please let me know. Absolutely. Please leave comments. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.